people, then it's not like the herd is attacking an institution. They attack a person. They attack a person, right? This is what I thought was so, this is totally off topic, but this is what I thought about the mass collective sort of onslaught about Charlie Sheen a few months ago. Everybody in America had something to say about Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen. Oh my God, he's making all this money and he decides to do he does drugs and has sex. Oh my God. You shouldn't be doing drugs and having sex. With all that money, you should be supposed to be helping the poor and the homeless. And dude, the guy works, he's a freaking genius at what he does. He blows his money on dope and chicks. I mean, what is it? Why do you care? Everybody, it's like this fascination with like, look at him fail, look at him crash. We can't wait to see him destroy himself. Let's watch, tune in. Charlie Sheen's crazy, he's manic, right? Not thinking that there's any sense, and this is not a defense of Charlie Sheen, in a sense I guess it is, I'm really off topic, but you know, when he's saying he's winning, it sounds hilarious, but deep down inside people don't want to admit that, yeah, in a sense he is winning, right? He's risen to a particular, granted, he's probably chemically unstable, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just conceptually. He's risen to a particular status, probably the highest status in the genre of, entertainment that he does, sitcoms. His sitcoms, #1. He's good at what he does. He makes a lot of money from what he does. He produces a lot of enjoyment in the people that watch him for what he does. And then he steps away from that, and he's a private citizen, and this is what he does privately. And I'm not getting into the legal crap, right? And morally speaking, what isn't anyone's concern? It isn't anyone's concern. All that people are fascinated with is now it's time to bring him back down. Let's destroy him. Let's destroy him. And it becomes character assassination, right? That's what it is, right? The herd implements that tool of character assassination. Yeah, let's go hunting now, right? It's the witch hunt. Charlie Sheen's in our radar. Let's tear him down. So shout out to Charlie Sheen, man. The herd mentality is a mentality of cowardice, right? It's a mentality that thrives on the support of others rather than self-reliance, right? So obviously, support rather than self-reliance. There is no need to excel. To do so is to separate oneself from the herd. It is to compromise the strength of the herd, right? The herd is a strong, and you can think of this in sort of biological terms. This is cliche as hell, but safari, there's a herd of, I don't know, pick your favorite meat product running around, and the meat product's running around, and the lionesses are stalking the herd, right? If the herd is really, really small and relatively weak, it's going to be a free-for-all. If the herd is massive, tens of thousands of meat products running around and bouncing and grazing, then it's going to be difficult to actually impose detriment to the herd itself. Part of the herd is going to get picked off, the weakest part, obviously, right? But insofar as part of the herd gets picked off, it's like, well, they were closer to the bottom anyway. The strongest part of the herd is probably more than likely going to be completely unaffected by the lionesses in a certain sense, right? Granted, they'll be cautious, but they'll be unaffected. But the herd as a whole, lionesses are going to present absolutely no threat to the herd as a whole, right? So that strength, in a sort of cliched biological sense, is transformed to a conceptual cognitive strength that is felt within the community. That's really all it is, right? Because it isn't like a migrating herd. The actual herd is sedentary. They live in the burbs, right? But they live in the burbs. Right? There's a sense of community, especially in the States. You evoke that. Images, concepts come to your head, right? Various levels of burbs, right? In my freestyle that I did on the Otis beats, right? What did I say? Something about, and they're greed-financed McMansions and stuff, right? They want to look like the elites, those who really have a station above. They can't afford the $25 million mansion, but they'll get the McMansion, right? They'll get the McMansion for $600 grand. Not like people who have a McMansion, Shout out to people who have a McMansion. But the idea is, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of the keeping up with the Joneses and so on and so forth, right? But insofar as that becomes the norm, keeping up with the Joneses becomes the norm, predators like me recognize patterns, and they say, oh, that's what you guys do. Okay, I want to take advantage of that. Because now I know what your system is. I know what your MO is. And once I know what one of you do, I know what all of you do because you all act the same. Right? That's the detriment of being just like everybody else. Right? That's the inherent flaw with not having any diversity. Because everybody, I don't mean diversity in the cultural sense. I mean diversity in its broadest sense, right? That becomes the problem, right? The second point, right, number 2, analysis, is the individual is only valuable as a person, is only valuable incidentally. There is no intrinsic value in the individual. That's a very deep point, right? With respect to the concept of the herd mentality, the individual is only valuable insofar as he or she is contributing his or her efforts back to the herd. That's it, right? Individual excellence, acclaim, status, in and of itself, is detrimental to the herd, right? With respect to this relation to the herd, as part of the herd, as belonging to the herd, it is a weakness, right? And the individuality it weakens the herd. Why? Because one person moves away from the herd. And if more people individually move away from the herd is thinned, right? There's a thinning of the herd. And insofar as the herd is thinned, the idea is, and it's just weird, the idea, and this is like I would love, there's so much, I've been begging scientists to do a lot. I hope people send scientists the message, and there probably is research on this. I would love to read a scientific assessment of sort of the conceptual origins of this fear. Because there really isn't a thinning of the suburbs per se. Granted, as many people aren't moving, but what is the fear? Right? I'm not smart enough to identify. I really don't know. I haven't thought about it, but there is a fear. There's a legitimized fear in an actual herd in the safari. There's a legitimized need to have masses. There is power in masses. The actual herd who shops at Old Navy all day, who goes to the mall on the weekends, who goes to get, they do their mundane things, they have their gated communities and their schools and their gated communities and everything's super safe and soft and comfy, right? What are they scared of? I really don't know. I don't know what it is that they're scared. I don't truly believe that they're scared of minorities and, maybe they are, the ghetto. The ghetto's not going to come to the burbs. I don't know if they're scared of people, a station above them because they deify the wealthy. So I don't know what their fear is, right? So I don't know why they have this need to be around and live and do everything that everybody else does, right? Saturday morning, everybody's out mowing the lawn doing the same thing. Everybody's driving the same car. Everybody, it's just, I just don't know. Number 3, so that's 2. Number 3, thus the herd forbids. That's what they do. You can't do that. They forbid. They command. They infect with guilt, assimilation, individuation, mediocrity, right? And individuation, they critique individuality, right? Assimilation, mediocrity, they critique individuation, right? The way that this works, and I'm not going to go through this whole thing, and I'm definitely not going to draw it, so I'll just sort of refer you to the image. On the left-hand side of the image, you have Christian morality and all of sort of the characteristics, right? Christian morality supports assimilation, encouragement, mediocrity, according to Nietzsche, strengthens the herd, weakens the individual, humility, dependency, right? So the individual that, you imagine that there's a person here, and the person is assimilating with the collective group, this is what's going to end up happening, right? You strengthen the herd, you become weaker, you lose yourself because you strengthen the herd. Humility, you have to become this humble, pious sort of, my accomplishments aren't, really what they are. Now, if you step away from the herd, imagine that one individual now leaves the herd to identify him or herself as an individual and take credit for his or her own accomplishments. Well, that's stoical morality, right? And that's completely different, right? It is the process of, now I know what I meant by individuation. It is the process of individuation. It's the process of claiming me as important. My concerns, my talents, my skills as essential, right? It's forbidden with respect to the herd mentality, obviously, right? It is to rise to excellence, which is also forbidden, right? It weakens the herd, which is really why it's forbidden. But the question is, really, how is it weakened? That's the question that I don't know how to answer. I really don't know. And it's very rare in the text that I just will be dumbfounded. But I really, and he doesn't really explain it, I really don't know, I really don't understand why. I agree with it, but I really don't understand why the herd is weakened by individuals trying to excel. I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't know. It's haters, you know, I need a little bit more. This is not a hip-hop series, right? This is, we're in some hardcore philosophy. And I've read a lot of stuff. I just don't know why, I don't know why there is that tension. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't, I don't know. So there's a weakening of the herd, right? Because individuals stand out and, you know, they're going to get recognition, not the herd. I mean, what does that really mean, right? It strengthens the individual. It's built on pride, independency, and so forth, right? The second point in this quote from Nietzsche in 282, he says, "In itself there is nothing sick about the herd animal. It is even invaluable, but incapable of feeding itself. It needs a shepherd." There's nothing inherently bad with the herd, and this is what I love about Nietzsche. You got to give it to him. He's definitely fair. He's definitely fair. It is even invaluable, but it's incapable of feeding itself. Right? The herd needs help, right? And who do they need help from? They need help from the shepherd. We know that that metaphor is loaded, right? That's a huge symbol, and we know what he means by the shepherd. There's no need to be explicit here. The priests understand that. And then the last point is analysis. The herd obviously then is dependent. The individual is independent. Nietzsche says, naturalness then becomes evil, right? Naturalness becomes evil. It is a right to oppose nature, also reason. The anti-natural is higher. The idea that the shepherd is then responsible for leading the herd, for caring for the herd, for protecting the herd, for nurturing the herd, is as we all know in Christian tradition, exemplified by the role of the divine. And we need to aspire to be like that in the Christian moral tradition. We need to help those who can't help themselves. But the point is that we live in a real world. And in the real world, no matter how much charity you do, no matter how many checks you write, no matter how many videos I post, if I'm posting it, if you're cutting the check for individuals who have absolutely no desire at all to improve by themselves their situation, or it's the case that their situation is so impoverished, is so structurally violent that no amount of effort is going to help them improve, the two sort of camps, then my work is completely futile. And I don't entertain futile work, right? Which is why I'm like Socrates, right? I'm a roaming philosopher. Granted, I roam on YouTube, but I roam and I see a lot of people, and a lot of people see me. But then I have a discussion with Thrasymachus, and that's pretty cool. And then I meet Euthyphro, and hey, that was a pretty cool discussion. And you know, then I meet Charmides, and we talk, and that's what it is, right? You can pick out certain individuals, and then I walk away knowing that I've influenced and been influenced by a select number of people. But to be, for me personally, the guy who everybody adores and loves, and it's like everybody gets to know your name, I'm not aspiring for that. I don't want that. It's not something that's in my, it's not in my DNA. I read too much Nietzsche. So I think you get the idea. No need to belabor the point with that. I want to thank you for watching this section of the Nietzsche lecture series. I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. Have a good day.